Hey guys, it's Mr. Miraie here, and in today's video I have for you guys a brand new top 10 list. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the top 10 Manhwa 2020 / 10 Manhwa you should be reading in 2020 / my top 10 Manhwa of 2020. This list is sort of a combined list of the top 10 Manhwa 2020 as well as my personal favorite manhwas of 2020. Now all I ask from you guys before we get into this list is to like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications to get notified of my latest uploads. Also, if you guys have any top 10 list videos you'd like me to make or manhwa/manga you would add in your personal top 10 list of 2020, leave it in the comment section down below. Now before the video gets started, this video is not ranked in any shape or form. These are just a top 10 manhwa that I personally enjoy of 2020. With that said, let's get straight into the video. Now number 10, we have The Descent of the Demonic Master. In his first life, after a tragic accident, losing his family and his legs, he ended his own life. In his second life, he earned the fame as the Red Demonic Master in Xiongyan, but was betrayed by the man he trusted the most. And now comes his third life. In his life back in the modern world, Gang Jinho decides to live a normal life. However, he was too used to the Xiongyan lifestyle to become a normal person. Now, if you haven't read Demonic Master, I've also mentioned this in a previous video which I'll link in the description down below as well as in the cards. This is an absolutely amazing isekai cultivation manhwa. I love the fact that it combines these two very big genres in manhwa, cultivation and isekai, and does so in a very good way. It's not that typical sort of trash cultivation with really bad translations or not a good story. It's got good developed plot. The art is absolutely amazing, and I think with 77 chapters so far, it is going super well. And yeah, I really love this manhwa this year, and I believe if you haven't read it, definitely pick this up. You will definitely enjoy it if you love your overpowered isekai characters. Now number 9, we have The Legend of the Northern Blade. When the world was plunged into darkness, martial artists gathered to form the Northern Heavenly Sect. With the help of the Northern Heavenly Sect, people began to enjoy peace again. However, as time passed, the martial artists began to conspire against the Northern Heavenly Sect, and eventually caused the death of the sect leader Jin Quan Ho, destroying the sect with it. As everyone left the sect, Jin Quan Ho's only son, Jin Myu-won, was left behind. Myu-won has never learned martial arts, but he finds the technique secretly left behind by his father and begins to acquire the martial arts of the Northern Heavenly Sect. Now this manhwa is again another sort of cultivation manhwa, but with a heavy revenge aspect to it, which makes it actually a really cool and fulfilling story because you get to see our main character sort of take revenge against the sort of other enemies in the story, because I don't want to spoil the story too much for you guys. Now what I love about this manhwa is not only the art, but the fact that the main character is going on this sort of revenge based storyline. And not only that, but he's also very calculative of his steps, and you're not just jumping in head first, but he's making very calculated decisions which do end up putting him in some very interesting scenarios. Now at number 8, we have The Beginning After the End. King Gray has unrivaled strength, wealth, and prestige in a world governed by martial ability. However, solitude lingers closely behind those with great power. Beneath the glamorous exterior of a powerful king lurks the shell of a man devoid of purpose and will. Reincarnated into a new world filled with magic and monsters, the king has a second chance to relive his life. Correcting the mistakes of his past life will not be his only challenge, however. Underneath the peace and prosperity of the new world is an undercurrent threatening to destroy everything he has worked for, questioning his role and reason for being born again. Now, if you haven't somehow heard of The Beginning After the End, it is an absolutely amazing isekai manhwa. We have our main character Arthur, who is just super, not just overpowered, but his actions in the story just make so much sense. He is super cool, and the waifus are great. I know some of you guys don't like that, but to me it's very appealing. And with the story just taking a break until season 4 arrives in the beginning of next year actually, if you haven't read the story, please take this time to catch up on the story, because I know the moment you start reading it like 10 chapters or even 5 chapters, you'll be hooked onto the story. Do read this one and do not leave it out, because this definitely should be on your must read list. Now number 7, we have The Great Mage Returns After 400 Years. The worst student of Westshard Academy, the disgrace of the Blake House, a new soul enters the lifeless body of Frey Blake, the boy who couldn't handle his painful life and chose death instead. The great mage, Lucas Straumann, he earned his chance at revenge by gaining the flesh and bones of Frey Blake the Disgrace. And now begins the interesting adventure of the great mage who returned after 4,000 years. The great mage returned after 4,000 years, which I will now refer to as the great mage, is an absolutely amazing magic reincarnation isekai manhwa-esque thing. It's not really an isekai, but our main character is reincarnated 4,000 years in the body of someone who tried to commit suicide because his life absolutely sucked. The art is absolutely amazing. You can probably see from these screenshots on screen right now. The panels look really good and really colorful. The main character is, someone who obviously has a lot of wealth of experience because he has already lived in the world. But it's really interesting seeing how he's continuing his life goal, which is taking revenge against the demigods, which you learn about in the first chapter, so I'm not ruining the story. And him interacting with the world and learning about all these new things that didn't exist in his previous world in his time is really interesting. Do check this out. It has around 60 or so chapters out so far, but it's definitely all absolutely banger chapters. Now, number 6, we have Triple F Trash Hero. Protagonist Kin Han-soo killed the Demon King after 10 years of being summoned in the fantasy world. Now it's time to be sent back to Earth. But what's this? The fantasy world gods appear along with a support card. Because he removed all the obstacles that prevented him killing the Demon King, his personality score came out as F. The regression that follows is that he has to return to the start and begin again. Can Kang Han-soo end this endless returns? The Triple F Trash Hero is a anti-hero based story where our main character, even though he is the hero who is brought in to save the world, he sort of acts as an anti-hero because he believes everything in his path is just obstacles that he has to kill or destroy. Now, I don't want to spoil the manhwa too much for you guys because it is so funny and super refreshing to see a main character who just does not give a shit about his partners and the endless amount of times he has to get reincarnated because the gods decide his personality score is F. His antics in trying to become like the best hero or like persuade the gods as to him being the perfect choice and being able to reincarnate back on Earth, and his special abilities, it is all an amazing package. The art is sort of more cartoony than more traditional manhwa. It's not as straight lined as Solo Leveling or The Great Mage Returns after 4,000 years, but it has its own charm and I really like it. Do pick this one up if you love an anti-hero type story. Now, number 5, we have Tomb Raider King. The god's tomb started to appear around the world. Due to relics within these tombs, many were able to wield this legendary power for themselves, while others became enslaved to these users. However, a Tomb Raider appears with the purpose of robbing these relics, the Tomb Raider King. Now, Tomb Raider King is a pretty good story. It sort of combines a tomb raiding aspect with Solo Leveling with its game-like features, the status screens and stuff like that and how they level up, and that's, same as Solo Leveling. But it is actually a pretty refreshing take on the whole game-like system because a lot of manhwas do use that system and it just isn't like a copy of, Solo Leveling or other bigger manhwas. But this actually has its own sort of unique identity and I think it does it pretty well. Now, number 4, we have Kill the Hero. One day, the world transformed into a game. Dungeons and monsters emerged in the middle of cities, and players who had received the god's authority appeared. See Jun Lee, the guild master of the Messiah Guild, that would bring salvation to the world. Let us save the world together. Let's put an end to this nightmare. The whole world celebrated the hero's appearance, and I became his comrade. But he wasn't a hero, nor a messiah like the world was hailing him. He was a deceitful hero with a secret ambition to rule the world. You did well. If it weren't for you, I couldn't have come up till here. I lost my life at his blade in the last dungeon. Or so I thought. The announcement I heard next to my ear the moment I died was starting the game. I returned to the past back when I still hadn't awakened as a player. And this time, it's my turn to hunt him. So, Kill the Hero is a revenge-based plot with, again, a sort of world where a bunch of these systems and gates open up and he has to go and fight, these monsters and stuff. Similar to Solo Leveling, except in this case, our main character is not the actual hero of the story, but the person trying to prove that the hero of the story is the actual villain of the story. He gets reincarnated and obviously he has all the advantage of all the knowledge of what's going to happen in the world, and he does his actions based on that. The story is pretty good, a very refreshing take on a game like, world getting taken over by monsters sort of system. Also, the story does have a revenge-based plot, which I absolutely love. I love manhwas with revenge-based plots because they always seem to have the most interesting and intellectual main characters. Now, up next, we have reverse villain. Jung-woo, who was reincarnated in the past and tried to conquer Miraie, continued his conquest. Because of Shin Ryong, who was left in a reincarnation cycle along with him, he fails to conquer Miraie. In the end, even the 5th attempt fails and he is reincarnated into modern times. Reincarnating into the modern world changes Jung-woo's passion and dream. He seeks a battle with a powerful enemy, but he's too powerful for most. This is a story of a persistent relationship that has continued from lifetime to lifetime and how he breaks free from a monotonous goal. So Reverse Villain is again anti-hero based manhwa. Now, while the title may suggest that he's being a reverse villain, he is sort of a villainous character in the story, but he's on the good side, I guess, which makes him the reverse villain. But the action he takes and his sort of thought process is very villain-like, and I think that's so very enjoyable to read. I love the fact he's such a badass character. The art is absolutely amazing. The thumbnail has art from this, manhwa, and I think you guys can tell that it's absolutely amazing. The story is okay. It's not the most, developed plot ever, but if you enjoy your overpowered villain main characters or who have like a very evil aspect to them, then you should definitely be reading Reverse Villain. Now, number 2, we have Chronicles of Heavenly Demon. You emphasize harmony your whole life, and this is how you go. The successor of the Spear Master sect and his apprentice Hyuk Won-seong were framed of learning a forbidden demonic art and slayed a helpless and pitiful death by the hypocrites of the Orthodox sect. The moment Won-seong faces death, the artifact of the Spear Master sect emitted a light and gave him a new life. That is, the life as number 900. A trainee in the demonic cult with 2 identities, the Orthodox sect and the demonic cult, but his objective is one: vengeance. Accepting his destiny and remembering his grudge, Won-seong trains in martial arts and his time of revenge slowly comes closer. Take over the demonic cult and punish the hypocrites of the Orthodox sect. The Revenge of Story number 900. Won-seong growing in tasks of life and death. Now, Chronicles of Heavenly Demon is a cultivation manhwa with a reincarnation revenge-based plot. It is honestly, to God, I've said this before, but it is one of the best cultivation manhwas out there. I only recently read this manhwa. I don't know why I read it earlier, but it is super good. The art is amazing. The translations are really good for it. The story just makes so much sense. There are time skips because they do want to get to the meat of the plot. And even though there are time skips, I still haven't felt like we really reached the meat of the plot. The main character is going super powerful in so many stages. There's so many plot twists in a story that leave you having cliffhangers in chapters, waiting for the next chapter to figure out what happened in the story, because you think that someone died but they don't. You think that like characters are supporting certain parties, and it is just an amazing experience to read this manhwa. We are a fan of cultivation manhwas and want a really good one to read, which that make you feel like you're reading cultivation manhwa for the first time over again. And definitely do read this one, because that's a feeling I had when I read this. It was like reading Tales of Demon and God, the first time. Just absolutely amazing. Number 1, we have Solo Leveling. 10 years ago, after the gate that connected the real world with the monster world opened up, some of the ordinary, everyday people received the power to hunt monsters within the gate. They are known as hunters. However, not all hunters are powerful. Our main character is Mr. Sung Jin-woo, an E-rank hunter. He is someone who has to risk his life in the lowest of dungeons. He is the world's weakest apparently. Having no skills whatsoever to display, he barely earned the required money by fighting in low-level dungeons. That is until he found a hidden dungeon with the hardest difficulty within the D-rank dungeons. In the end, as he's accepting death, he suddenly received a strange power. A quest log that only he could see. A secret leveling up that only he knew about. If he trained in accordance with this quest and hunted monsters, his level would rise, changing him from the weakest hunter to the strongest S-rank hunter. Now, I feel like Solo Leveling needs no introduction as to why it's on this list. It is an absolutely amazing manhwa. I know some people think it's overrated, but I absolutely love this story. The art is amazing, the character is super interesting. The plot points happening right now in the story are explaining so much more about the lore of Solo Leveling, the world itself, and the secrets of certain systems in the world as well. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read the story yet, because it is honestly an amazing experience. I've probably reread Solo Leveling like 2 or 3 times over because it is just that good. If you haven't read Solo Leveling, what are you doing? Just go read it. You will definitely enjoy it. And that, my friends, is all the manhwa I have for you guys today. Be sure to leave in the comment section down below what your top 10 manhwa of 2020 is. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Mr. Miraie, and I'll see you all in the next video.